Okay, good morning. How you doing? Time has come to cut out the shape of the top that I'm using for the base, which is this California redwood. I've traced the outline of the body onto it, so now I've just got to use the bandsaw to cut out the rough shape. I'm going to try and leave, 3 or 4 mil around the outside of it, just to make sure I've got plenty of wiggle room, and then I can router that off a bit later on. So, here we go. Okay, it's time to glue the top onto the body, and this is going to be interesting. The way I've cut the body shape out, I think the easiest way for me to do it is actually flip the body over onto the top, then flip it back over, just to make sure I get the center lines lined up on this. You've got to notice at some point, I'm actually a little bit short on the body here. The top that I bought was actually cut for guitars, but I liked it so much I bought it anyway, knowing that I'd have to do a little bit of customizing down here. What I'm going to end up doing is planing all of this off and sort of try and blend that into the arm contour that you normally have here. Normally you'd have a slope cut into it here, and I'm going to try and blend that all around into one. When I do the round over around the edges, of course you don't want square edges, you want them rounded. That's going to show some of the white coming through as well, so hopefully I'll end up with a fairly consistent look. This is how it looks in my head. Yeah, it looks great up here. So hopefully it's going to work out. Yeah, so I've just got to get as much glue on as possible, in particular because I've got holes drilled all the way through here. I need to make sure that I've got coverage right the way through, so it's going to be a little bit messy. Just got myself a wet towel for cleaning up down here, but that's it. We just start laying on glue. I'm not worried about glue spilling out of the sides. I need to get a squeeze out anyway when I do stick them down, but I'm also going to sand all that off when I finish the edges anyway, so I'm not too fussed. Make sure that every available bit of wood is in fact covered, and I do mean right to the edges all the way along. It's probably not the neatest gluing job you'll ever see in your life, but this is also my first attempt at it, so I'm just going to do the best I can. I realised too late that I'd actually drilled some of these chamber holes a little bit too close to the edge, so I've just filled those in with wood putty. hopefully that'll do a good enough job of covering. Alright, and I'm also going to just put a decent layer through here as well. Now we get to flip the body and hopefully get it lined up with my center lines. And this is the trickiest part, since I can't really see exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, how you doing? Bit of the update on the gluing the top part of it. Didn't go anywhere near as neatly as I would have liked. For some reason, as I started to clamp it on, after I'd cut the shape out roughly, the top seemed to want to bend up and away from the body, so I had a hell of a time getting everything clamped down flat. I finally did, but there are now gaps along the bottom. I've got little spaces in there, so what I'm going to do is unclamp it now, go through and check. My girlfriend gave me this little bottle, which is kind of cool. It's got a little nose on it, so hopefully I'll be able to get in with this and squeeze small amounts of glue just into the gaps that are missing it, and then just re-clamp those sections. So the first thing we'll do is unclamp everything that I've done so far. Bit by bit, we'll go through and have a look at it. There's going to be a lot of dents and scratches on the surface as well, but I've still got a lot of sanding that I want to do to it anyway, so I wasn't too fussed about doing the neatest job in history. I ended up using every single clamp I own and discovered that that wasn't enough. So I'm going to have to go out today and maybe get a couple more to add to the collection. So there we are, got a lot of squeeze out all the way around, but there's, so I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. There are lines along there where the glue just didn't quite get squeezed out. And I've got some gaps. For the most part, it's better than I thought it was going to be. There's a fairly decent line there, and this entire back section here actually didn't get squeezed down anywhere near enough, so I might start with that one. So I just want to get my little bottle. And hopefully this will get enough glue in far enough . So I'm going to use a lot of clamps now, just on a very small section, which I think was the problem I had last time. I just didn't have enough clamps to put anywhere near enough pressure in a small enough area. This is why I've got all these gaps left over. So I'll go out today and buy a few more for the next time that I need them. Tiny bit more along this edge here. I know that there's glue in the side from the edge of the seam, and I'm hoping that when I sand back and round off and do all of that, it'll be alright back in from the edge. I'll have some glue holding that down, but I still would prefer to just have it all fixed right from the start, as it should have been. So interestingly, this was actually the hardest part of doing all of this so far. I thought this would have actually been one of the easier bits, but I was very, very wrong. It's actually alright. It looks pretty rough along here, but I'll be, for the most part, using a router bit to come along the edge. Then I'll be using the spindle sander to clean up all the edges of it. So I'm actually not overly fussed. I'm missing a little bit here, but I'll be routing out the neck pocket from there, so I don't think I'll fix that just now. I might wait and see how it looks when I actually get the rest of it all shaped in. Okay, so hopefully this will be enough to that's all pretty right, to finish the edging of it, and then I can go and take off the excess from the top and start sanding it down. The next step for this, just to take you through what we're going to be doing, get my router. I've got a bit with a bearing guide which rides around the edge of the body, and that will just trim off the excess into the shape of the body. I am of course missing, as we discussed yesterday, the end here, so I'm going to use a rasp file to take off all of that, and I'm going to try and blend that into just a smooth curve, as I'll be doing up in this point here, which is the usually the arm cutaway, or the arm contour. When I do the round over bit, I'm going to try and get that to all blend in as evenly as possible as well. After that, I will have to try and route out the rear cavity. Only two of the bases that I own actually have rear cavities. Most jazz bases have the cavities on the front. So what I've done is taken the cover out of one of them, and I'm actually going to use the offcut from the top. It just fits in perfectly. So on the back of the nice white basswood, I should have this matching top plate to go into the back, which I think will look really, really good. So hopefully that'll come together. We're going to have to give this another 24 hours to finish setting, so I won't be able to look at this again until tomorrow. For the rest of the day, I might try and make myself a template for this. The problem with routing is you've got to have a template to keep your lines with, otherwise you end up just routing right through them, and it's not going to end up as a nice, neat cutout. So I'm going to have to create a template for myself, since I don't actually have one for that. So that might be the rest of the day. I'll probably do it in the same way that I made the template here, but the upside is I can now use my spindle sander to clean this. What I'll probably do is sort of create one, cut it straight down the centre, and use the spindle sander to then route out the inside of them and then glue them back together. So I've got a perfect template that way. I think that's probably the easiest way for me to do it. Pretty right with everything else so far. Now it's just a matter of waiting. So I'll keep you posted. Cheers.